Hi there, my name is Filippa. Today I'm going to share my prolapse healing journey with you. After this video, you will have hope and you will feel inspired to take up your own healing journey, especially if you're struggling with a prolapse or any pelvic floor dysfunction. I've been a yoga teacher for many years, working with health almost all my life. But most importantly, I've almost healed my prolapse, my grade 2 to 3 prolapse, I would say. So I really believe in healing. We all can heal. We just need to gain more knowledge about it and more support, more tools to be able to do it. Unfortunately, healthcare system is not providing us with all of this today. And the healthcare system is where we turn to, right? When we have any health struggles. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Or almost from the beginning, because I realized probably things that happened in my life previous to this have possibly affected my situation now. So I'm going to start from when I gave birth to my first son, and I'm going to share the other stories from before that in my life in a different video. So I gave birth to my first son, 2016, and it was a wonderful birth experience in one sense. On the other hand, it was really hard in the end for me when the push phase came and I didn't have any tools on how to deal with that. I was exhausted. I had labor contractions for almost a week, so I didn't sleep properly before I gave birth to him. So already when we came to the hospital, I was exhausted. And then I had 8 hours of labor. I was in a bathtub. It was wonderful. But I was also just super tired into the core of my bones. So when the push phase came and the pain started to become more intense, I couldn't cope with it. So I asked the midwife, how should I cope with this pain? What should I do? I just wanna give birth now. I can't do this anymore. And she said, you need to hold your breath. You need to inhale, hold your breath, and then take your chin down towards the chest. So every time a contraction comes, you need to do this. And I did it because I was too exhausted to realize that it was actually my breath that had taken me to the place where I was at without any medications or painkillers. So I did that for like 40 minutes and the pain was, it was really, I could feel the pain like a burning sensation in my vagina when he came out. And when he came up on my chest, my son, I felt weird. It wasn't this flow that I had experienced all the way in the bathtub, and that last 40 minutes wasn't that kind of flow, and when he came to me wasn't that kind of flow, and afterwards I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk for like 3 days properly. So I realized something was wrong, and after 6 weeks I went to a checkup. They said everything looks fine, go home, do your Kegels. And I didn't feel everything was fine. So by 3 months, by 6 months, by 9 months, I went back again and again. But they said the same thing every time. This looks good. And when I gave birth, they said this looks fine, nothing happened at all, no injuries at all. So no stitching, nothing. And then 1 year later, I finally got an appointment so that they could check with ultrasound in my pelvic floor what really happened. And their conclusion was I had a mild prolapse, which wasn't why I was feeling very limited by that time. It was more air sucking into the vagina. Actually, that was my problem during that first year. Being a yoga teacher, it's very hard having air coming in kind of any position where you have your butt up towards the sky. So I didn't really care about the prolapse. She said it's super mild, it's nothing to worry about. And then they saw also that I had some broken muscles and tissue. And yeah, so after that, it was kind of a relief that someone said, yes, I understand why you're struggling. When they told me that, there's nothing to do now because you want to have more kids. So you need to give birth and be done with giving birth. And then you can come back and we can see what we can do. There's nothing to do right now. So after the visit with that gynecologist, I was, relieved because someone could see my struggle and confirm my emotions. On the other hand, I felt devastated to hear that there's nothing we can do. So I just accepted it and moved on. I was pregnant again about 2 years after that. And since I knew much more about giving birth, I had also realized that the end of my first son's birth wasn't the way I wanted it to be. I wanted to breathe through giving birth from start to end, and they told me to hold my breath. So I wanted to do that in a different way, and I thought that if I do a home birth, it will be more possible for me to do it my way. And it really, really was. It was such a healing experience to give birth at home for me. I had fantastic midwives. My husband was there, my son was there when my other second son came. It was magic. I felt like a superhero. I was so empowered. I had read a lot about the 4th trimester, how to rest after birth, really take care of your body. So me and my baby just stayed in bed for like a week. We stayed inside the house for like the next week. So we took it really slowly, and I felt super strong. So I also started to carry my oldest son, I think a little too early. It was a challenge for our relationship to have my youngest son, because I wasn't as present with my first son. I had a lot of morning sickness, and I wasn't there for him in the same way, and he felt that. So he started to hit me a lot. So I really wanted to find a way to connect with him again. So if we were out walking and he fell, I started to carry him maybe like 4 weeks after giving birth. And, I just felt so strong. So I did that, and that was a mistake. 3 months after giving birth, in 2019 to my second son, I felt something in my panties, and I was like, what is this? I need to check what this is. I went into the bathroom, I took a mirror out, and I looked into my vagina, and I saw like a small pink ball coming out from the vagina. I was petrified. I was freaking out. I was shaking. I started to shake. Fortunately, our kids were sleeping. So I was shaking and crying for hours. And my husband was like, what's happening? What is this? I need to take it to the hospital. And finally, we decided to ask the midwife about it. And we also started to Google, of course, on Dr. Google. And we realized, okay, this is a prolapse. I already knew I had one, but I never paid any attention to it. So, but this time, when I think it was a grade 2 or 3, I could feel it every step I took. I could feel it all the time, when I was standing up, when I was sitting on the floor, all the time. And it was so frustrating. I became really depressed. I was taking care of the baby and my 3-year-old, and I was just in a deep dark hole. I thought that this is how my life is going to be from now on. And my first thought was never to turn to the healthcare system, because they have already let me down. So I didn't want to turn to them and ask them what to do about this. When I read on the medical websites, they had suggestions like don't lift heavy things, fit out a pessary, or do a surgery. And I just felt that all of those options would make me feel so limited. It would make me feel like maybe I will break any second, like my body can't hold itself. So I was like, I can't do any of those. I can't live like that. I can't be afraid playing, jumping, exercising, doing yoga, whatever. I want to feel free in my body. It's super important for me. So I was just so sad and depressed for like a couple of weeks. And then one morning I woke up really angry. I was like, there have to be another way. It can't. I mean, a woman's body is meant to give birth. And of course you can have injuries, but I really, really think the body wants to heal. I think also that's why I've been doing yoga all my life. I believe, or all my life since I was a teenager, I believe in the body's capacity and in a spiritual practice. And it was like facing this prolapse became a moment for me to really discover that capacity of a human body or a human being. So I started to Google, and I'm from Sweden. I'm sitting here in a Swedish forest. It's super nice. I couldn't find anything about any type of healing of prolapse naturally. So it took actually 1 or 2 more weeks, and then I realized, oh, I can just search in English. So I did that. I was breastfeeding in the night, so like every moment I had breastfeeding, I was Googling. And after a couple of more weeks, I started to find women who had healed their prolapses naturally. And that was such a big shift for me. It was going from dark to light. Nothing had changed in my physical body. So it was just such a cool experience, feeling this hope and meaning again, although my situation in a way hadn't changed. But I got this inspiration from them. So I started to try all the methods I could find. And the first method I found was something called Hypopressives. It's a breathing technique. And it's similar to a breathing technique in yoga. So I felt drawn to it immediately. And I also felt relief immediately when I started to do it with a trainer. That's really important. You need to have a trainer for hypopressives. I know there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. I wouldn't recommend trying them because it's quite easy to do mistakes with hypopressives, especially if you already have a pelvic floor dysfunction. So you don't want to create pressure down towards the pelvic floor. You want to, the opposite, you want to take away the pressure. And if you do anything wrong in the posture, in the chest and in the pelvic floor, you can create pressure and make it worse. So definitely go and find a trainer if you want to try out hypopressives. I'm a trainer now myself. I decided to become a trainer to help other women with the same issues as I've had, and it's been a wonderful experience. Especially since prolapse and pelvic floor dysfunction in general, it's so taboo. It's really hard to get support. I think it's slowly changing now. Anyway, so hypopressives was the first method, and it was such a wonderful experience feeling everything coming back into place again when doing this breathing. And also just the breathing makes you feel very good, and it's also hypoxic training, so it's like a resistance training within your body, so you don't use any other tools or weights, but you become really strong actually. And that's a nice feeling after pregnancy and giving birth and everything related to that. So the next thing I found was about diet. I had been a vegan and vegetarian for plus 10 years, and I was a vegan at the time when I had the prolapse. So I started to hear from different people that you should start to eat meat, you need collagen, bone broth would be really good for you. And it took maybe 5 months before I tried the first time. And then I just started to add some collagen to my smoothie. Because I was just like, what's the option? I identified being a vegan. I don't want to kill any being. I don't want to contribute to that industry. But at the same time, when my prolapse was symptomatic, still I was really depressed and I didn't want to live. But that was a really challenging process for me. I started to have some chicken and pigeon because my acupuncturist told me to, and also doing bone broth. And as it is now, I eat some kind of animal product on a daily basis. I don't eat dairy, but I try to really eat clean. That's the most important thing. So clean eating and some meat, which is of course not processed, or it's organic and it's from animals who've been living outdoors all their lives and no hormones and stuff like that. So I've added that into my diet. And then the next thing I found out about was vaginal steaming. And I wasn't really hooked first. I read a lot about it, but it took some time before I actually started to try it. Also because my mindset in the beginning with hypopressives was like, I have found the thing for me. This is the magic pill or the silver bullet for me. Unfortunately, with healing, that's not the case. My experience is you need to try many different methods from many different angles and see how you experience them. What does your body tell you about it? How do you feel in your mind? And then you can evaluate if this is something for you to implement as a part of your lifestyle, your healing lifestyle. So that was kind of a mistake I did. I tried one thing for a long time without adding things. Now, if I could say something to myself at that point, I would have said, try everything. Just go for choose 5 things and do it immediately. But that's also me. I know, I go all in and I'm very disciplined. So maybe it's enough for someone else to start with one thing and then adding on. So vaginal steaming, it's for, if you haven't heard about it, it's you boil water, you can put herbs into the water. So it's like yoni tea, some people call it. And you can squat over the water, so the steam goes into your vagina, or you can be kind of like in a child's pose and let the steam come in, or you can sit on a stool with a hole so the steaming comes in. And it's such a nice experience. In a way, I'm so sad that I didn't know about this. And it's been, at least in Sweden, it was called hukbad many years ago. So it's been here. And way back they have used it in so many different traditions and cultures, and they still do in some parts of the world. But most women don't know about it because the healthcare system doesn't recommend it. So what it does is the steaming goes into the vagina and starts to activate the fascia and all the muscles, the tissues, everything around there. And also if you have scar tissue, it can start to soften the scar tissue, which is, in many cases, scar tissue is the reason for prolapse. So the scar tissue happens like this. It goes, something breaks and the scar goes like, and the scar then is pulling something else. So it can't be upright. So if this is in your vagina and you have some scar tissue here, or maybe on this side, it can be from both sides, then this part starts to fall down. So the vaginal wall kind of starts to fall down, but it's more of a pull. So vaginal steaming can help softening the scar tissue and also start to vitalize the vaginal walls, so they can have more circulation again and maybe even stand up more straight again. But most important, I think, for me with vaginal steaming was that it's a really effective way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So, and that's the nervous system that calms you down. And all healing happens when the parasympathetic nervous system is activated. So if the sympathetic nervous system is activated, that's more of the fight or flight response, and you're kind of stiff and nothing will happen because you need to relax. You need to feel trust. You need to be soft. All of that for healing to happen. And what vaginal steaming do is that the steaming goes up and it hits the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is it connects the whole body, and it's a really effective way to make the vagus nerve relaxed, and that affects the whole nervous system, the brain, your stomach, everything. So, and also when you add the herbs, you can have different herbs will help with different symptoms. So that's a really, really nice way to heal as well. And one thing I forgot to tell you about was quite early. I think when I started to find hypopressives, I realized I need to process my emotions, because I had kind of like panic attacks in the beginning with my prolapse, when I thought, I'm stuck here. This is the way my life is going to be now. So when I was walking and I felt this chaffing in between my legs, in my vagina, I could feel an explosion, and definitely not my parasympathetic nervous system activated. I think more like my sympathetic nervous system activated. It caused so much stress in my system, and I was breathing shallow, my heartbeat went up, I could feel the panic coming. And fortunately for me, my mother she has been working a lot with Byron Katie. So if you haven't heard about Byron Katie, you can check her up if you feel this sounds interesting for you. She has created something called The Work, and it's a way to process emotions. So if you feel angry, if you feel panic, if you feel stuck, if you feel sad, betrayed, anything like that, you take a piece of paper, it's on her website, it's a form, and you fill it in. And you write about, so my first sentence was almost always, I shouldn't have this prolapse. And then I filled in all the other things and questions in the form, and then my mother and me had a conversation for about 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And from feeling this panic and that I really should not have this prolapse, this is not a part of my experience in this life, I can't accept it. I went from starting to accepting it, because you turn the sentence around, my mother was asking a lot of questions about it, so you start to get perspective. So it's like you're here and then slowly coming out, you're expanding, and every time in the end of our conversation, I was laughing. I was laughing at the situation and at myself, and felt so much relief. So more, again, in the parasympathetic nervous system state. And I think that was so crucial for me, to not keep those emotions inside and building up, and then, explode some other day, and not being able to channelize them. So yeah, that was a really important step too, and I did that on a regular basis for a long time. And then what else did I find? I started to do a lot of more self-care. So taking baths with different salts and adding different things into my baths, using a lot of essential oils, both in my diet, if I did bathing or other things like that. And then also I started to do dry scrub. I think it's in English. So you before you take a shower, you take this brush and you help your system to clean itself. So you help the liver and the lymph system. So I added all of that, really being very careful about taking care of myself, because I was taking care of my sons and my family and all of that. So I think that's a very important component. After some time, I found a new method called scar tissue remediation. And that's a type of massage. And it's so fascinating. It's you do massage on the scar tissue. And as it is now, it's been about a year since my symptomatic prolapse experience. I would say the scar tissue is the most effective method so far for me. Even though hypopressives, I mean, it took away the chafing feeling of walking about 3 weeks after I started to do hypopressives. So it was super effective. So I think I will have different opinions about which method is the best. But again, I think it's because I've been doing all the methods. That's, it counts. Even though, a few things I might have tried only once and it didn't hook me. But the scar tissue remediation is you take castor oil because it's so effective on scars, and you massage. And in the beginning, I couldn't do it. I read a book about it. I had an audiobook. I was trying to be guided, but I couldn't even touch myself in my vagina. I was like, as soon as I came close, I was like, no, I mean, this is just like a big hole. It felt so dry. It felt so, I was just like disgusted by myself. And I realized how much emotions I had around that. And of course, you can't heal a place in your body that you have so much aversion to. So I found a lady working with this, but she was in LA and Corona happened. So I was like, I'm going to go to LA. But then I realized maybe it's going to be too hard. I can't be away from my kids. And then she actually wrote to me saying, hey, my colleague is coming to Sweden. So, which was perfect. So I went to her and she had 4 sessions, I think. We had a couple of weeks in between and it helped so much. And I think most importantly, I could start to touch myself again. So I started to do scar tissue massage on myself. And I've been doing that now for like 6 months, I think. And I think after I started to do that once a week regularly, I don't have the symptoms as much. So the healing process for me has not been linear, and most cases are not linear when it comes to natural healing. I really wanted it to be like, you're here on point A, you're going to go to point B, and it's done. That's not the case. You go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So, I was talking about scar tissue and the massage. So I think when I started to do it on myself, I didn't have as many ups and downs, as I had before. So it started to be, I couldn't feel the prolapse like a few days a month. And then like after 6 months or something, it was more like half month I felt it, half month I didn't feel it. Then it became more like 3 weeks I didn't feel it, 1 week I felt it. And it was almost like that week when I felt it was harder than ever before, because I was just sucked into this deep dark hole again so fast. And although I had experienced I could improve, that just took over my mind. It's been so interesting. And when I started to do scar tissue massage with castor oil, like once a week, it's been much more like I can feel a little heavy sometimes, like 1 day a month, or I don't feel the prolapse anymore. Yay! It's been such a ride, and I'm still looking for solutions. Like the last thing I started to do is belly dancing, because I just feel that my pelvis and my whole area, my womb, my vagina needs more circulation and more feminine qualities to it. But that's like the main things I would say that I've been working on, and I'm going to share more about them in other videos. So you're going to get to know all about it.